Hi and welcome to another Watch Geek video. Today we take a look at yet another vintage Seiko, a 1960s Seiko Champion. This is a dressier variant of the more popular Champion Alpinist, which is the second model in the Alpinist line and, in my opinion, the best looking model. Thanks to the fact that this is not a part of that popular line, it can be found at pretty low prices. If we looked at them side by side, we would see they're very similar, and the only differences, other than the gold-plated case, are the details on the dial. Both have the same dial execution with the signature radial lines running from the center to the hour markers, but on the Alpinist, both markers and hands feature lume, while on this, they're both gold colored completely, giving it the already mentioned dressier look. The hands are Dauphine style and very long, making reading the time very precise. They're beveled so they do catch light very well, but in the dark they're completely invisible, unlike the Alpinist. The case itself is also slightly different, and it's the quintessential 60s watch in both shape and size. In fact, if I put it next to my 1960s Doxa, they look almost identical. It will be the same if we put most Omega watches from that era as well. Like there was one single design everyone had to follow back then, when it comes to dressy watches. Now, to be honest, it's not necessarily a bad thing, as I find watches with this case shape to be among the prettiest ever made. The dimensions are typical for that era as well, with a 36mm diameter and 44mm lug-to-lug. It might seem too small for many today, but trust me, the large dial makes it wear larger than you might first think. Then we get to what is probably my favorite thing when it comes to these vintage watches, other than the style, and it's the thickness, or should I say, the lack of it. With just 9mm in thickness, this watch would be considered an ultra-thin by today's standards. It not only makes it sit nicer on the wrist and look more elegant, but it also gives the small case better proportions. The thickness is even more impressive when you notice how much of it is down to the domed crystal. Part of the amazing thickness comes from the fact that this watch uses a manual wind movement rather than the more usual automatic that today's watches use. It is a 19-jewel movement, beating at 18,000 bph, and it doesn't feature hacking. This makes it as basic as a movement can be. Some might see it as a bad thing, but to me, it is an ideal movement for a watch that is as basic as a watch can be. Plus, there is something cool about this simplicity. If by any chance you notice that condition of the case doesn't really reflect the condition of the dial, you have a good eye. The reason for that is that the owner actually got a hold of a new old stock case and had the movement and dial transferred into it. He still has the original case stored, but this NOS case really makes the watch pop, and we get to see it in all its glory. I see this watch as a great alternative for many vintage Omegas and Doxas like mine, and if I didn't already have my Doxa that my wife bought me, I might have gotten one of these. If, however, you're a Seiko fanboy and collector, you might want to hunt down the Champion Alpinist, as that, despite costing more, will probably be worth much more than this years from now. Well, that completes today's video, so thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and found it useful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and until the next video, bye.